There we go. Awesome. All right. Welcome tonight, or welcome everyone to tonight's Team Aftershots call. It is March 14th. And a new program was just announced today, the Country Heat, which is super exciting. I'm really excited about it. I was already like, as I was watching the preview for it, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then in the video, when Carl Deichler's actually like, oh, at an event in Calgary, blah, blah, I was like, that's us. So then it made it even more exciting. So it's like, we just need to really pump it up here because they mentioned Calgary in the promo. But anyway, so that's really cool. I'm very excited about that because who doesn't love line dancing? Even if you're not like a fan of country music, it's a lot of fun. And I think it's a great idea because not everybody, like the music that's in size doesn't appeal to everybody, right? So I think that it's a really good idea. I did not see it coming. It's like one of those programs that I'm just like totally like, I was totally shocked by. And yeah, so I think it's a good idea. I'm excited for it. So that'll be released at Summit, I guess. So in July. And yeah, they announced some other stuff. There was a couple people posted in Team Victory All-Stars, like the other announcements that have been made. One of which I know is that the Recover drink is going to be available in orange flavor, which is awesome because the P90X results in recovery formula, which is like the old version of Recover, was an orange flavor and it was delicious. It tastes like orange creamsicle. So I know a lot of people were kind of like, can we like get that sort of flavor in this new formula? So that's really great that that's coming out. And I don't remember the rest of the announcements. So yeah. So sorry about that, but they were posted to Team Victory All-Stars. If somebody wants to go to Team Victory All-Stars and copy one of those into TAS, that would be great as well, just because then, there's a little bit less posts and stuff in TAS, so it'd be a bit easier to find in there. But yeah, so of course, like the cruise is going on right now. Some people will probably be watching this recorded after getting back from the cruise. It looks like they're having an amazing time. And yeah, I was in Cancun last year and I know how fun those trips are. They like Beachbody really makes it a lot of fun for everybody. So I'm excited. I love seeing all the pictures and watching the adventures of Flat Lara. But anyway, so tonight's call. What I'm going to share is two big things that have made the biggest, like a huge difference in my business just in the last few months. And they've been things that you're always kind of told are important, but they've never really been like overly emphasized about the importance of them. Like you're like in my mind anyways, I was always like, okay, I need to be inviting people every day. I need to be adding new contacts every day. I need to be having conversations every day. Like you're told those things, like 3 vital behaviors, personal development, inviting, being proof of products work. You told those things all the time. Those 3 vital behaviors are like ingrained in you all the time, right? And so I was always doing them. I mean, I've been a coach for over 3 years now, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've always done it and whatever. And I always figured that I did it pretty consistently for like the first like year and a half until the Power of 3 was introduced to me. I thought I was really consistent. Like I was like, yeah, I'm totally consistent. And then the Power of 3 was introduced like, I think it was like summer of 2014 is when the Power of 3 was kind of introduced to us. And that was a huge game changer because up until that point in time, we just had the business activity tracker, which was just like writing down numbers. So like, okay, I sent this many new conversations or new messages today. I added this many new contacts today type thing. And what I honestly would do with that, I never used it consistently. And what I would do with it when I was using it is I would literally just like sit there at the end of the day with my business activity tracker and I would just kind of ballpark about how many new conversations I thought I had because I didn't really pay attention throughout the day or tally them up or anything like that. So the Power of 3, what really changed that for me is because you actually have to write the name. So it just makes sense that throughout the day as you send a new message or whatever, you write the name down. And so you can't just like guess how many conversations you had because you have to write the name down, right? So that was that. The Power 3 was a game changer for me, and it was like my first kind of eye opener with like, okay, because then once I started doing the Power 3 and I had something that was tracking, I looked back and was like, wow, okay, I'm not I'm not as consistent as I thought I was. I'm not actually having as many conversations as I thought I was, and those sorts of things. So that's, and I think the other reason that the Power of Three works so well is because we really are in like a relationship business and a people business. And so with the Power of Three and you're marking down names, you're actually like, you're focused on like the person. It's not just like a number. Like, it's not just like, okay, I need to have at least 3 conversations today. I need to just put a number 3 there. Like, it's, you know, you're meeting a person, you're talking to them, and then you mark their name down, right? Anyways, so yeah, so the 2 biggest things that that were have been, I've just realized in the last couple of months are so important is tracking and planning. So these are 2 things that I really, honestly, I'm not good at. The tracking thing, as I mentioned, I was not good at until Power of Three came along, and then I got better because it just basically became a thing that it was like, if I sent a new message, I was going to put it on my Power of Three, because you bet I wanted to give myself credit for sending that new message or adding that new contact or sending that new invite, right? So yeah, so the Power of Three really got me down with tracking, because it was like, you know, I needed to put those names on there, because then, you know, I needed to give myself the credit for having that conversation or whatever. However, what I was slacking in on that is that I wasn't actually looking back over previous Power 3 documents to see what I was doing. So this is the really important part about tracking. Yes, it's important to track just like day to day, so that you know what you're doing, right? So you can, you know, okay, yeah, at the end of the day today, okay, yep, I did do my 3 invites and I did those things. Yeah, that's important. But it's also important because you're running a business, right? And so it's like, just kind of imagine if, just think of like a big, like mainstream business, and think if they didn't actually, you know, track anything, or if they did maybe keep track of whatever it's their finances, or it's, you know, how their advertising's working or something like that. But then what if they put together this promo, and then they didn't actually track it to see how it did. They didn't actually look back and say, wow, you know, okay, so sales spiked today, but they didn't look back to see what did they do differently leading up to today. Or, wow, like sales have been really low this month, so what have we been doing that maybe has, you know, made the sales go down? Like, what if businesses wouldn't go anywhere if they didn't spend that time reflecting and seeing, like, what did they do that led to, you know, their business increasing or decreasing or whatever. And it's the same thing with you. Like, you're running a business, so you have to be tracking, and then you have to be going back and reflecting and looking at what you've been doing to get whatever result that you're getting right now. And that's really, it's just a part of running a business. It's not fun. Like that stuff is not, I don't like tracking. I don't like going back and looking at what I've done and analyzing things and stuff like that. But it has to be done, right? Because it's like I'm running a business and I'm treating it like a business. And then of course it just goes back to the whole thing too. Like, if you treat this like a business, it will pay you like a business. If you treat it like a hobby and you just do the fun parts of it, then it will pay you like a hobby. So it's just kind of like, what are you expecting to get out of it? What do you want from it? Well, then you treat it that way. So yeah, so what I did in December, last December, I was sitting there, so, you know, just a few months ago, I was sitting there and I was talking to Heather and Jackie, and I was just like, we were kind of reflecting, because at the beginning of 2015, we had all kind of decided like we were going to push for elite in 2015 together. And none of us hit that goal. None of us even got close to that goal. So it was kind of like, okay, like, why? Like, what did we miss? What did we do wrong? And so Jackie and Heather were like, well, you know, yeah, you know, I wasn't totally consistent with, you know, my conversations every week and my invites, and I didn't present the business opportunity to enough people consistently and stuff. And I was sitting there and I was like, I know that I was consistent last year. Like, I was like, I know, like, these last 12 months, like, I have been consistent. I've been doing everything that I need to do. And yeah, and then I just decided, I said that because I really felt like I had been consistent throughout the whole year. And then I decided I was just like, maybe I should just go look at my Power of Three documents. And what I was going to do was not because I was doubting how consistent I was. Like literally I was that confident that I had been consistent every week throughout the whole year. I was just going back because I was going to add up how many total new contacts I added in the year and total new messages and stuff. And I was absolutely floored when I opened up my old Power of Three documents from earlier in the year. January was really, really good. I was consistent every week in January, more than 3 a day, like more between like 5 and 10 new contacts, new messages, new invites, coaching conversations, follow-ups every day, at least 5 days a week in January. And then in February, it was like total drop. Like there were weeks where there was maybe only 5 names on my whole Power of Three document. And it was like that all through the year. It was like, there was like whole months where like in the whole month, like out of like all 4 weeks, I had like maybe 25 names on that whole thing. That's like including my new messages, including my new contacts, including my new invites. And then I was like, holy smokes, like I did not do what I thought that I did. And it was so eye-opening for me. So it kind of made me realize like how important not only tracking your daily activities there, your weekly activities, but then to actually sit there and look back, right? So that's something that I've changed a lot. So like in December, I had a great big spike in my business. So I went back and I looked, and in October, I had picked up, like I had started, because in the summer and in September, I took like a pretty big step back from the business, and I knew that already. But the rest of the year, I thought that I was good. But then in October, I picked back up. So I was doing like 3 to 5 a day of every, new contacts, new messages, new invites, everything, every day and every week since October. So then it made sense, because in October and then in November, it was like I was doing Power of 10, every week in November. So it made sense that December was like a huge spike in my business. But it just kind of made me realize like we need to be sitting here, like treating this like a business. So like every month, every quarter, like look back and see, what did you do last month? What did you do 2 months ago that's now leading you, like giving you the result that's giving you now? Because there is a delay. The work that you do today and this week and this month is not going to show up this month, right? It might show up a little bit next month. I've found it's usually about 2 months. So if you work your butt off this month, usually 2 months from now, you're going to, have a bit of a spike in people contacting you, people signing up and committing and those sorts of things. But it takes the consistent effort too, right? So that's like, if you push really hard, like all 4 weeks or whatever, something will come of it in, about 2 months is kind of what I found. But what happens is you'll buckle down and you'll be doing really good. You'll be doing your invites every day. You'll be, adding your new contacts every day, having your conversations, and you'll do that for, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And you won't be seeing the result of it yet. And so you'll start to feel frustrated, and you'll start to feel like this isn't going anywhere. And then you start having all these thoughts of doubt, and you're just like, this isn't worth it. Like, I feel like I'm working way too hard and this isn't paying off. And I've been doing this forever. And that's where like the perception is off. Like you'll think to yourself, well, yeah, I'll remember, but you won't. Like, really, will you remember how many invites you sent today? A year from now, you're not going to. Or even a month from now, you're not going to. Even a week from now, you're not going to. Probably even tomorrow, you won't really remember how many invites you sent today, right? So it's just kind of remembering that and realizing like you're going to want to look back and see, because like I say, I was sitting here super frustrated in December because I felt like in my mind, because I had worked so hard in November, so leading up to December, I had worked really, really hard in November. In my mind, I had done that all year. And I was like, why am I where I'm at? Like, I should be further ahead, and this isn't working. And I was feeling very frustrated. But thankfully, because I know that I always use my Power of 3 document throughout the whole year, I was able to go back and look, and it was like, oh, that's why. So I knew going into this year, going into January, I knew the one thing that I need to focus on, because I get super distracted by shiny objects, right? So it's like, okay, we're focusing on this right now. Oh, no, okay, there's something else over there. Okay, so I'm going to go focus on that. The one thing, no matter what, that I knew that I needed to get done, I need to get done every single day, no matter what, is I need to have my power of 3 done every day. So that's become my frog. That's like the first thing I do now before I do anything else. I make sure that I've had 3 new contacts added, that I've sent 3 new messages, and that, I've sent 3 new invites and had, at least a couple coaching conversations. And also then when I'm looking at my Power of 3 document, I know that it needs to be at least 5 days a week that I do it. And the other thing that I saw because I tracked all this last year, I saw a trend, right? And that's the other thing, like you will notice a trend in what you're doing. And if you tracked it, then you'll be able to see it so that you can correct it. And something that I noticed is that I would one day I'd add 10 new contacts. So then it was in my mind, I was just kind of oh, I've done enough for the week. So I wouldn't do anything, but that's not the consistency that you need. So now I also know regardless, if one day I have, for whatever reason, a bunch of friend requests or a bunch of people give me their email address or something, off Instagram or something, and I have 10 new contacts, it doesn't matter. I still got to sit down and do my Power of 3 the next day, because it has to be a 5-day-a-week thing every single week. So I know that this is something we all should know, right? Because we're taught Power of 3 new contacts, 3 new messages, 3 invites every single day, or 5 days a week, every single week consistently is going to build you a business. It's going to build you a very, good business, a very a successful business. If you want to move faster, bump it up to Power of 5, whatever, right? But if you do 3 of each of those things a day, 5 days a week, every single week, it's going to get you there. But it needs to be 5 days a week, no matter if, like I say, you do more one day. That's the other key. So I know that we hear this all the time, but really I just wanted to drive the point home. It's super important. And if you don't focus on anything else, just make sure that you focus on that, whether you do your Power of 3 on paper or whatever. I was listening to the National Wake Up Call this morning, and she was talking. It was funny because I had this call already planned in my mind before the National Wake Up Call. And then she talked about on the National Wake Up Call the importance of tracking. And she just uses the business activity tracker. And I know that different things work for different people, but whatever it is, you need to do it, make sure that you're tracking everything consistently and accurately, and then keep it for future so that you can go back and look. So the Power of 3 works for me because just on my Google Drive, if I had it in a notebook or printed off somewhere, I would lose it. I can guarantee that. So this way it's on my Google Drive. I know exactly where each one is, and they're named by month and whatever. But whatever works for you. And that may take some trial, you're going to have to, try different things to find what works for you. But it's just so important. And it's just, I think that needs to be a big focus, no matter what you're doing, track your activities, because you're going to have, like I say, you're going to have a messed up perception about what you've actually done or how long you've been working so hard, or, it's going to happen and you're going to feel frustrated and you're going to feel like you're getting nowhere. And then also how are you supposed to sit there and actually reflect back and say, okay, this is what I need to change? Because the thing is when you're in a plateau or a struggle in your business and it's not going anywhere, it's not that you need to totally overhaul what you're doing. There's usually just a little thing that you need to tweak. And for me, it was just making sure that I was prioritizing actually doing my Power of 3 5 days a week. And it was just that little tweak that I had to make. And now things are just starting to come together, right? And the great thing about that is right after I decided that I was going to make my Power of 3, absolutely number one priority, non-negotiable, 5 days a week. I used to always get the majority of my new contacts from not free ads, but from paid ads that I do on Facebook. And then just a couple weeks into January, Facebook shut down my ads account, so I can't even run ads anymore. So I had to figure out how I was going to find new people now. And so that's why I've been digging so deep into Instagram, and it's worked. I connect with about 20 new people on Instagram every day. And from that, I usually get 3 to 5 new contacts. So that's working for me now. But the important thing, like I say, is to track what you're doing, because you're not going to remember what you did today or this week a year from now or even a month from now. And yeah, so that's the thing too. So now that I'm doing it a bit different, because there's stuff on Instagram, I'm still making sure that I need to be tracking what I'm doing so that I can look back and see what I've been doing. So yeah, so what to track. So that's kind of why to track. That's your why. That's why you need to track. That's why it's super important and should be like non-negotiable in your mind to track. Okay, so what to track. So you want to be tracking who you're talking to. And the importance of that is, once you all know that we should be working from a list. Like, we've all heard this, right? Like, when you sign up as a new coach, start with a list of 100 and go off there when you're sending people messages, and always be adding to that list, right? So yeah, you want to be working off a list. My list is on Asana. I just consider that my list. I'm not a pen to paper person. Some people are. So if you are, have a list, pen to paper, whatever. But when you are inviting people, you really need to track that, because you could send an invite, and I have this happen all the time. I'll send an invite out to somebody and they won't reply. So if I don't have it marked down that I've invited them, and then have it marked in my Asana to check in with them like 3 days after my invite, that would be that. And until they come up again in maybe a month or 2 on my Asana, I wouldn't check in with them again, right? But the thing is that when you send an invite to somebody, they might have missed the message. That happens. Or maybe they read it, but they were like out somewhere. They were like in the middle of something, so they couldn't reply right away. That happens like 9 times out of 10. When I send an invite and somebody doesn't respond, 3 days later, if I'm making sure to track who I'm talking to, and I know 3 days later I have to go check in with them to see if they, if they haven't responded to my invite, I'll send them a message and just, I'll either send like a couple question marks, or I'll be like, did you see my last message? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say something like, yeah, I saw it. I meant to reply later, because when I read it, I was in the middle of whatever, and I meant to reply later, and I forgot. I'm sorry. Or, yeah, I saw it, and I was just kind of trying to think about if I wanted to do it or whatever. That's another one that I get quite often. But the point here is that you need to make sure to follow up. And in order to know who you're following up with, you need to be tracking who you're talking to, right? So you need to be tracking who you're talking to, tracking your new contacts too, because with new contacts, it's really important to build that relationship, right? So you should be tracking who you're adding each day so that okay, these are the people I added like last week. So if you don't, like, what I usually do is when I add a new contact, I send them a message like right away. Like, I'll start a conversation with them right away. Some people don't do that. Some people will wait like a week to start a conversation. It depends on the situation, I guess. But, so make sure you're starting a conversation with them, and then make sure you're kind of checking in with them again once every couple of weeks. Like, when it's a new contact and you're trying to just kind of build that open communication and stuff like that, just sending, like, not jumping right on Beachbody if that's not where the contact originated from. If it's a contact that responded to like, a post about a challenge group or something, then maybe that's where the conversation goes to right away. But if it's a new contact, you're just getting to know them, even just like marking them down so that every couple of weeks you're messaging them just like, hey, how's it going? Was just, wanted to wish you a good week or whatever. That's important. You want to track your new contacts. You want to track your new combos just to make sure you're having them more than anything. And also your new business invites, kind of the same thing as challenge group invites. I always mark them down and follow up with them 3 days later in case they didn't see the message or they wanted to think it over, but then they forgot to reply to me or whatever. And also tracking your follow-ups. So that's important. The other thing that's important to track is when to follow up with somebody. So like I say, it's really, really easy to lose track of people. And this is this is something that Asana solved for me. But Asana didn't come into the picture until last year. So like for the first 2 years that I was in this business, I lost track of so many people. And I lost customers because I forgot about them. And then all of a sudden I would see them post about oh, just started 21-day fix. And it was like, it wasn't through me. But then I go look and my fault, I hadn't talked to them in a year, right? So that's the importance of following up with people and not forgetting about people. So yeah, so make sure you mark down when to follow up with somebody, because also the fortunes in the follow-up when it comes to committing to challenge groups. You gotta like follow up until they actually tell you like no. Like, and I don't think I've ever actually had anybody tell me like no, like never. I've been a coach for like over 3 years, and I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me no, never, but I do have people say like, no, not right now. No, this month doesn't work. Maybe next month. No, like I can't do it right now. And you want to follow up with those invites until they tell you no, basically, right? Because if they can't do it right now, they'll let you know. Let it make it easy for them to say no. Let them know, like, you know, whatever. Either way is great. Just let me know type thing. The other thing that's important to track is your workouts and your Shakeology and your personal development. So I just want to show you guys something that I actually got from the Bullet Journal. I got the idea from the Bullet Journal Junkies group. And it's really motivating for me to use this just as a way to track like my overall daily activities. So what it is this is just like monthly. So down the side here, I have a list of like all the tasks that I want to do like on a consistent basis. And then these are the days of the month along the top here, and they're all colorful and whatever. So once I complete a task, so like this gold is personal development. See, I haven't missed a day of personal development this month. I just color in the box, and that's it. So some of the things that are on my list that I'm like, I want to be doing these on a consistent basis. I'll just share with you. So I have every day I want to be reaching out to at least 10 people on Instagram. And I did that every day this month except for yesterday. Every day, well, at least 5 days a week, I want to be doing my Power of 3. I want my nutrition to be on track at least 5 or 6 days a week, which has not been that, but you know, I'm working at it. Also the accountability, I have that. So if I post my daily accountability in the team page or in challenge group or whatever, my savers that I do every morning, that's from the Miracle Morning book. So that's like doing some sort of like meditation or silence or prayer or whatever, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing, so journaling. And my goal is to do that 5 mornings a week. My workout, of course, 6 days a week, personal development every single day, goals written. I've also started writing 10 goals every single morning, first thing when I get up. And that's another thing that my goal is to do. My goal is to write my goals every day. New coach combos, no nighttime snacking, and crowd fire. So that's just that's basically what I'm like, that's my personal, like this, I want to do these things on a consistent basis and I want to be tracking them. And so what this is going to be my way to look back. I have my way to look back on my Power of 3 and see how many conversations and stuff I'm having. But that's going to be my way to look back and see how consistent I've been in other areas, like my workout, my personal development, my, you know, all those other things that I listed for you guys, because that's important too, right? So, and you need to, like I say, it's all just tracking. And then there's the really, really boring part, the stuff I just don't like doing, but it needs to be done too, is tracking your income and your weekly personal volume and your team volume on each leg and your success club points each month. It's important to track those things because you need to be making sure that you're progressing. And that's the other thing I noticed too, is sometimes I'll sit here and I'll feel like I've not increased my income at all in the last 2 years. But then I go and I actually look back and it's like on this chart, actually my husband made a chart for my income because he's into that stuff. But anyways, so I look at it and I'm like, okay, no, like that's crazy. My income has grown, but sometimes you just kind of get in a funk and you feel like it hasn't. And also the nature of it is it goes like this, right? So that's why it's important to track it. I recommend actually like tracking it in 4-week chunks. So taking 4 weeks, it doesn't matter if it's 1 month or whatever, but taking 4 weeks, adding those up and making that like, you know, a point. Like, okay, this month I made this much. This month, I recommend that because it's a bit more easier to track than if you're doing weekly, but it's going to go up and down. That's just to be expected. And then plan. That's the other thing. But this was mainly about tracking and the importance of it and the importance of looking back and reflecting on what you've done and what you've tracked. So basically just kind of think to yourself, like, what do you really need to be making sure that you're doing every single day or consistently 5-6 days a week? And how are you going to track that in a manner that you can sit down and look back a year from now and see what you did and how consistently you did it? And also it just kind of comes down to figuring out what will work for you to create the habit and the consistency. I'm listening to a really great book right now. If you feel like you have like bad habits that need to be broken, like maybe it's snacking on the couch at night, maybe it's sitting down and watching TV at night when you know you could be doing, I don't know, Beachbody stuff, whatever it is. There's this book I started listening to, and it's called The Power of Habit. I'm listening to it on Audible. I don't actually know what the author's name is, but if you search The Power of Habit, you'll see it. And it is eye-opening. It's life-changing. I'm going to stop biting my nails thanks to this book. But anyways, you can apply it to business habits, right? Like breaking the habit. Like I say, maybe you're like, you have a plan and you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work on my Beachbody business from this time to this time in the evening. But then without even thinking about it, you sit down and you watch TV for that hour instead. That's a habit. And you're doing it without even thinking about it. So, so that's a really, really good book. And I was reading that. But yeah, the next thing, I'm just going to touch on this really quick because we have like 5 minutes, is the importance of planning. So just, spending like 2 minutes. I do it at the end of each day, right before I go to bed. I spend 2 minutes. I find it helps slow my brain down a bit more so I can get to sleep quicker as well. Yeah, I spend 2 minutes just doing like a brain dump on my phone of the things that I would need to get done tomorrow. And I put on there like the daily activities too. So I put on there Power of 3. I put on there like follow up with my Asana contacts and, the daily things that I do every day. But yeah. Oh, my mom found the author. Awesome. Thanks, Mom. It's in the chat if you guys didn't see that. But anyways, so yeah, I write those daily things down, but then if there's anything, like I put everything on there. So if I need to go grocery shopping the next day, I'll put that on there. Whatever is like keeps your brain going at night. And it takes like 2 minutes. And once again, it's just, you'll get into a habit with it once you start doing it. You just have to have that cue. For me, it's I'm in bed, I'm going to bed. Okay, so I make my to-do list. Or you can do it first thing in the morning, whatever works best for you. But it is really important to take that time and plan your day. Plan just, I'm not a good planner and it took me a while to get into my to-do list, and my to-do list is not perfect in the sense that, most days I honestly still don't cross everything off of it, but I'm getting better with it. Just don't try to be a perfectionist with it. This is really important. And where these things came from is the rule of 5 that John Maxwell gave for Team Beachbody coaches. Him and like Tracy Morrow and some other top coaches came together and they figured out like the 5 things that every Beachbody coach needs to do every single day, like 365 days a year if they want to be successful and if they're serious about their business. And that's where our accountability that's in the team page every day comes from. So that's every day you grow. So every day you're doing personal development, you're doing your workout, you're doing your Shakeology. That's all part of those things, your own self-growth. Every day you track is one of the things. So every day, you're tracking your business, you're tracking your income, you're tracking your volume, and you're tracking your conversations, your follow-ups, and those sorts of things. Every day you plan. So every day, you make a to-do list. Every day you kind of sit down the night before or the day before, or maybe you do it once a week and you kind of plan, okay, I'm going to work my Beachbody business from this time to this time on Monday and Wednesday, and from this time to this time on Tuesday and Thursday. Like you fit it in there, right? Every day I connect, which is connecting with new people, starting new conversations with people. What did I miss? Grow, connect. I'm cheating because follow up, that's the other one. So that's like following up with people, obviously, that's pretty clear. And what I did was I got this over a year ago, right? Like it was like last February was when I first heard this rule of 5 of 5 things to do as a Beachbody coach every single day to be successful. And I've made this pretty little thing and I put it on the background of my phone so that I'd see it every day and I wouldn't forget about it. And I never actually did it. Like, you have to intentionally do it. So now I do, like, intentionally, I make sure even on like my days off. So like I do my Power 3 5 days a week. The other 2 days, I still make sure that I'm like connecting with at least one new person. And it's as simple as just sending somebody a DM on Instagram or something. Like I just make sure I still am doing that every single day now. So intention is important as well. And that's that. I'm going to get cut off because we have less than a minute left. But anyways, thank you guys for joining me. Have a great week, guys.